Indiana State football fall camp coverage is brought to you by U.S. Lawn, the official lawn care provider of Sycamore Athletics.
It's always exciting. I mean, you go through that period of time in the summer where you just need to kind of take a step back and rest and refresh. But as camp continue to approach, you start to get that little bit of juice, a little bit of anticipation. So getting back out here has been great. We've got a great group of young men. It's enjoyable to be around.
Of course, the first couple days are the first couple days, so you know there's going to be mistakes made. But outside of that, what are the biggest things you're really focusing on right now with the offense, Coach Bath?
The biggest thing we're working on and really truly focusing on, it's the same thing that Coach Mallory talks about all the time. It's just the fundamentals. Just working on the details of our position, trying to master our craft on a daily basis. And as we continue to do that, those one guy, each guy individually, you add that up with 11, then you're going to start having some productivity there. And that's the biggest thing. Is just trying to every single day just get better fundamental.
And not just get better fundamentally, how much carryover have you already seen early from what guys took in the spring that were here and are helping those guys who are maybe just starting now for the first time?
You know what, it's kind of funny. We probably installed almost as much in 2 days as we did in the entire spring. And and that's what we told the young men that during the spring. We're going to be very slow with our install. We're going to take time implementing what we wanted to implement. But we also said at the end of spring now it's going to get thrown at you fast and furious here in fall camp. And so it's fun to see where we have picked up where we left off in some ways. We've gotten better in some ways where we left off in the spring. So it's been encouraging so far. We just got to keep on cleaning things up.
What do you feel outside of just repetition where camp pushes your guys the most and what you enjoy about camp in terms of what it can really shape guys this time of year, knowing how many reps you get every day and knowing they are long days too?
Yeah, they're long days. They can be a grind, but I think that's the thing. Kind of seeing that in spring you get a day of rest, or even over the weekend you may get 2 days of rest till you practice again. Seeing the guys going from practice to film to going to practice and seeing the growth from one practice to another, or the attention to detail that maybe something they screwed up the day before, seeing them succeed the next day is always something that we as coaches really enjoy, and I definitely enjoy it.
Looking at that quarterback room, you got so many different guys who are really making plays right now in camp. How much do you just enjoy that room right now and the competition that's being had?
It's a really enjoyable room. It really is. I enjoyed it in the spring. When we made the decision to bring another young man in, we were very conscious of making sure we didn't rock the boat, I guess you would say. Just finding a young man that fit us as a program, but then also fit that room that was talented, that could come in and compete. And so we did that this summer. And so adding Evan into the room with those other guys, I mean, it's a great group of guys. They're each other's biggest fans. They're each other's. They have enough, I guess, trust in each other where they can coach each other up and be somewhat critical. And the guys, okay, I understand. I see what you're saying. So I mean, there's great communication. There's a great enjoyment in there. They really do care about each other, but also it's a room full of competitors. And so we're getting each one of those guys his best, and that's what we need.
What ultimately will be some of the main separating factors of whoever that is? What are those things that you really look for as, all right, this is kind of the checklist of if you want to separate yourself, this is what I'm going to look for?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just playing within our offense, and having the ability to make the throws where we need to make them, just being consistent on a day-to-day basis. We don't need a guy to go out and make these crazy plays. Now, yeah, making plays is part of playing that position, but we need to see guys that are to come in each and every day, be consistent, and just doing what we ask them to do. And the guy that we feel that at the end of camp that's going to give us the best chance to win games and does that on a daily basis, just being consistent, that's going to be our day one starter.
For you, in terms of that process, how much insight do you get from your offensive staff, and also how much of the decision you want to take on in terms of that evaluation process?
Well, it's probably, to be honest, it's going to be Coach Mallory and I. We're going to make that decision. And, we've been in constant communication about the decision, getting to that decision point throughout spring ball, throughout the summer. Yesterday during dinner we sat down, and it's going to be a continual conversation and continuing just trying to, make sure that if we need to see a guy in certain situations, that we put that guy in certain situations. So
I feel like, Coach Bath, I know this is your first year with us, but skill's never been in question here. And I feel like at your skill positions offensively this year, that is even more so. Can you sense just the depth you have at all of your skilled positions and how much better even those guys have been from the spring to the fall and how faster and stronger they got over the summer?
Yeah, it's that was one thing. I know Coach Mallory when we met about this opportunity back in the spring after Coach Castle left. That's one thing he expressed to me was just the skill talent we do have, and I go through the entire spring and I'm impressed with it, and then. Midway through spring, like a guy like Dakota Kate, he's not out there running around. I don't get to see him, but everybody kept on talking about what type of player he was, and I put in the 2019 film. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you get out here to practice, and you see it, and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, he's better than even then, what you thought. And so, yeah, we have a lot of really good skill on offense, and not just at receiver, but at running back. And so I'm excited because I think they're smart kids. They're competitive kids. They're kids that truly care about each other and they work their rear ends off. And so it provides some unique opportunities for me as we get into the season from a game planning perspective, and just trying to put the best guys in the best position for success.
Not that Coach Funk needs help in terms of a voice within his room, but of course you being the main voice for the offense, where do you try to help his group up front to get that physicality, to get that right mentality that you guys want them to have, not just starting in a couple of weeks when you play, but starting now?
Well, that's been something that we talked about going back to day one. When we made the move from Tyler from tight ends to the offensive line, he and I sat down and sitting down with Coach Mallory as well, just talking about the physicality, the urgency that we needed up front. And so it's Tyler in those meeting rooms. It's me in the unit meetings. It's me on the field coupled with Tyler. So it's constantly just being around the guys and just communicating with them. Whether it's in the dining hall, it's in the meeting rooms, it's walking down the hallway. Just trying to instill that attitude that we're going to be a physical group of guys that plays with an edge on a daily basis, and that's something that, from a consistent perspective, I need to communicate with them daily, and I think if you ask them that, I do that. So.